Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have a pretty horrendous rack, 2 U's and a V, and the G not helping. However, I do have Vogue and Vooge on my rack, both of which sort the rack out. And I'd like to get rid of as many as possible of G, U, U and V, even if that means only vowels on my rack. I guess if there was a floating L, I could play Voulu, keeping A, E, G. I'm not seeing any other candidate plays from this rack. $20 for my opponent. Canna takes an E after it. So I do have Vogue and Vooge in column 9. Vooge scoring more. Do I have anything through any of these floaters which is better? I don't think so. So Vooge for 19. Great, I draw the first blank. The rest of the rack's slightly vowel heavy, but I could have a bingo here. So I'm going to squiz through the alphabet. Mainly looking for 8s with no particular floater in mind. Close to Poaceus. Vug taking a G, H and S after it. And only 11 points for my opponent, which is good for me. That looks promising. So I have a floating C, N and V. Probably the C and the N, the better candidates for a bingo. Still not seeing anything. QU. Nothing there. Now this looks potentially promising with a C and an N. So European, not good unfortunately. What about with the C? Not seeing anything. That's close to Poaceus. Close because I would need 2 O's for that to work. Now, do I have Yoop Nears? I think I do. Great, that's 1 in the bag. That's the auto prefix with PEE. Great, well I've just seen the one bingo. Yoop Nears for 63. Great, that's a pretty balanced rack, and if I don't have a bingo, then I should be able to play off the J and leave a very bingo-y rack leave. But first things first, do I have a bingo? I can't see a 7 with this rack. So what floaters are available? The V of Vooge. I have over as a prefix. Can't see anything there. The C of Canny. Not seeing anything there, so I also have the floaters in Yoop Nears, so the S, not good. Vowels, not seeing anything there, so it's a case of playing off the J. So a play of JO would leave a fantastic 5-letter set, one of the best without a blank. And that plays in column 5, Jo and OE. 22 points, and I've also got it for a lot more beside the bottom 2 tiles of Yoop Nears. So I'm in reasonable shape. I have a lead of 50 points and a pretty good rack. Just wondering if I have anything through the C. But even a non-bingo play would be not as good as JO, because it would score about the same and have an inferior rack leave. Vuj only takes an S after it. Now, do I have a double-double in row K? That might be worth wrecking the rack for. And possibly not. I think it would only score about 50 to 60 points. And Joe and Jar would score about 40. Opponent spending quite a while on this move. Just the S for going next to Vug on my rack. Wow. Nice play by my opponent. 36 points. But he set up an excellent spot for me for my J. For 52. And although JO doesn't take an S, so I'm not generating an S-line bingo, I think there still are bingo lanes on this board, and I don't think playing off an E or a T would be the right thing to do, because it would diminish the value of the rack too much. So Joe for 52. Great, that's a pretty good looking rack. I certainly have a lot of bingos here, but do I have any which play? So I have Strange and Joe. And that was the other reason for playing Joe. It takes a lot of hooks. Well, and my opponent uses one of them. 78 points. Great bingo for him, especially with a slightly unpromising rack with a U and two I's. So I now trail. Do I have a bingo here? Joe only takes an S after it that I've got on my rack. It also takes a Y. So the bingos on this rack are Argent's, Strange, and there's definitely one more. Neither of the two I've mentioned play. Do they play higher up? Argent's just failing next to the D. Garnet's is the final one. Again, that just fails. Vuj takes nothing in front. The C doesn't look like it's a good floater for this rack. Now the other lane is row L for quite a heavy overlap. So Argent's doesn't work, Garnet's doesn't work, Strange doesn't work. Let me just check the bottom of column 13. No, so wow. I was fairly confident I'd have something with this rack, something playable. Not turning out to be the case. What a change. I was quite pleased to see Joe going down for over 50 points. But my opponent's bingo has really altered things. Am I missing any lanes? Don't think so. The E not available as a floater. Definitely nothing through the C. Now OSE is good. And OSA isn't. So I could play Agent. Keeping RS. Or just Gent, keeping ARS. Such a shame to wreck a rack which is this good. But I don't see any alternative. Gent for 24 sets up a bingo lane in column 14. Can I do better? That doesn't feel optimal. What about a play in column 8? I could play Organ, keeping EST. 21 points, providing a couple of floaters and keeping column 13 available. 14 minutes on my clock. I think I will play organ. Just 21 points. But the rack leaves quite nice and it goes well with the floating A and N. Well, bingo-y tiles, but duplicates amongst them. So I'm not seeing a 7 here. I would have bingos through an R. Can't see anything with the G. Can't immediately see anything with the A. What about the N? Not seeing anything through that. I've got 2 S's, so I can burn one of them fairly cheaply. I'd quite like to open the board up. Since well, my lead is just 10 points. I'm expecting it to be a deficit after my opponent has played. Now, do I have anything through the C? So it's cestodes, but does that have an anagram? Cosseted, well, neither of those plays. I guess I could open the board up by playing through the I. The problem I have with this rack is I have no scoring tiles. And if I play down from Joe, then I'm killing a bingo lane and not creating a new one. Unless I played one square higher up and played OSE. Just 17 points. But I think I'm going to struggle to score much more than that. The C is a bingo-y tile. It just hasn't worked with the racks that I've had so far. Wow, 2 R's, but neither available as a floater, or are they? Because I think dosseret is good. Wow, does that work? Dosseret may not be good, but if it is good, then it plays dosseret for 77. Wow, fantastic. I saw that and for some reason thought that it didn't quite fit, and it does. So that was an unexpected stroke of good fortune. Rewarded by this rack, which could be a mixed blessing. Initial reaction on seeing FUW, pretty horrendous. But FUTS is good. Can't see anywhere for that right away. Has my opponent done the decent thing in providing a spot for me again? No. Now, WUZ is also good, WUZ. Can't see anything there. I have fetoir in row O, which burns off the F and the W, therefore splitting up the UW combination and scoring 36 points. Wow, I think I have something a little bit nicer. I have waltz, 54 points. Not a great rack leave. F and U don't go well together, but the F is a scoring tile, and all scoring tiles go well with vowels, and in particular FEU is good, so I shouldn't be in a position of having to change next go, regardless of what I pick up. Can I do better? I haven't really looked around for super hot Z spots. What about row O? Can't get the Z doubled. Futs stops 1 square short. I'm going with this. Not great, but not a disaster either. And it's good to get 54 points straight after bingoing, because it's just piling the pressure onto my opponent. My lead is now over 110 points. So even though rack leaves can be awful, if you can keep scoring, you're in a strong position. Nowhere obvious to play my F or my Y, but this rack definitely too good to change. So what do I have through the T of dosseret? Well, nothing. Waltz is quite a nice play because nothing goes in front of the Z, so column 2, not a bingo lane. And in fact the bingo lanes appear to be restricted to column 14 and rows O and N. Still one blank to come, and an S out there, and 28 tiles in the bag. 22 points for my opponent. And he's opened up a triple lane in column 15, and even without it being a triple lane, it is a bingo. It's a floater for a bingo, so I need to give this consideration as to whether I should be blocking it. I could play Toey, that keeps F and U, and only scores 21 points. Can I do better? I've got the out prefix. 11 minutes on my clock. BEY is good. Well, this is a tricky rack to deal with. These tiles don't go well together. Now I've got the IFY ending. I would have yuffed onto a T, but yuffed doesn't get tripled. I've got Chufa, which I think is better than Toey because it burns FU, scores the same, kills column 15, kills the scoring potential in the bottom right. I'm going with this. Well, I'm hanging on, but hanging on with a plus 100 point lead. Column 14, the dangerous bingo lane, but any bingo in that lane is going to likely provide me access to column 15. Okay, this is what's happened. Good to see the blank going. Only 69 points for my opponent. I still got a lead of 40 points. I've got 3 scoring tiles. I've got vowels. What can I do in column 15? Well, it's tricky because I need 2 vowels in positions 3 and 4 to play at the top. And my rack doesn't lend itself to that. I guess I've got Y, W-Y-E. 29 points, which is pretty good. I'd takes nothing I've got after it, so I can forget about that lane. 15 tiles in the bag. And Y is quite nice because the W isn't a particularly useful floater at the end of a word. And 29 points, quite a good score. Let me check the remaining vowel situation. 9 out of 22, so slightly vowel light, which is fine since I'm keeping a vowel heavy rack leave. So, is this my play? Yes, it is. I draw some of those vowels. I've still got 1 scoring tile in the B, and I've got a 60-point lead. Now I have Ebionite, I think. Yes, through the N, that just fits. Hopefully my opponent will leave that alone, because he needs bingo lanes. I guess having played Bent, he may try and open another triple. But I think in that case I will play Ebionite. So what if Ebionite is blocked? What can I do with this rack? I don't have anything for going in front of the U. Nothing to go between U and H. Still 2 A's to come for idea. And an M. 2 M's for idem. Great. Ebionite remains available and opponent hasn't opened a new bingo lane, I don't think. And Ebionite does not create a new lane either. So Ebionite for 61. And it's not good. That is... Wow, that is the second time in recent games that I've played a word similar to Ebion or Eben, which hasn't been good. That's a shame. That would have locked up the game. Let me take this back. Probably Ebionize. So, my lead now is only 32 points. 10 tiles in the bag. Things are looking a little harder. That is a shame. I was confident about it. I guess I could play Ebonite, which I think is good. That doesn't score very much, and I think since my lead is only 30 points, I'd like to score at least 30, especially with this item spot available. Just wondering if I can block it if I've got to play... Oh no, E-Day is good with an E. Okay, so I could just play OE here. That's attractive. It's 20 points, which, although fairly minimal, makes quite a difference to the spread. It takes it from 30 to 50. Big difference. It denies my opponent a spot. And it leaves a fairly balanced rack leave. Now, can I do any better? Do I have anything beginning E-I? No. I-E not good. No OEI words. I'm going with this. OE. 20 points. I've got a 52 point lead. That's pretty good. It's balanced. It's close to a bingo. I don't think I've got one through the N or onto the A or through the A. But it's balanced, so I should be able to score at least 20 points. So my only danger is my opponent bingoing. I've also dodged the Q. My opponent may have that. 8 tiles in the bag, 7 on my opponent's rack. He probably hasn't got the Q. Just wondering what you can deduce from the Pax play, but I think the score for Pax is so good that my opponent may have played it even with the Q. There may simply have been nowhere for his Q to play, even with an I. I can't see any QI spots apart from Chin, which takes out a bingo lane. Now, with the Q being out there, I'm just wondering how that impacts on tile turnover for me. The more tiles I turn over, the greater my chance of drawing the Q. Well, I need to see what my opponent plays, see how many tiles are left in the bag. I'm quite tempted to play off just a couple of tiles to reduce the chances of drawing the Q and also to keep a bingo-y rack lead. My opponent may open the board. He has opened a lane. Car takes A, O and S in front of it. There is still an S out there. The remaining tiles not particularly bingo-y. However, there probably is a bingo amongst them. That's very difficult for me to block. Because if I play across row A, putting my A in front of car, I'll be opening up row B. Unless I play, well, just BA, but that's pretty lame. 6 tiles in the bag. I could play Tibia, leaving 1 in the bag, forcing my opponent to have at least a 2-tile overlap. I've got a 30-point lead, so I think my opponent only wins if he bingos. The trouble with playing Tibia is if I draw the Q, I've burned all my eyes, and there's nowhere to play the Q, which puts my opponent in a very strong position, so I don't think that is the play. I think BA much better. 14 points, keeping a balanced rack. And I think this is the play because I think if I left that spot alone, my opponent could play a 6-letter word ending in S and maybe catch me. 5 minutes on my clock. I can't see anything which extends to the W, and anything more than a 2-point play is going to provide a place for a bingo. It's going to open a new lane. I'm going with this. Wow. Deluge of vowels. 4 tiles in the bag. Where is the cue? My lead, just 48 points. So a bingo through the A or the N could be decisive in my opponent's favour. If my opponent doesn't open a new lane, I think a play of just MI would kill off rows N and O. But if the opponent doesn't bingo, he may well try and open a new bingo lane, possibly by playing in column 2 onto this P. He'll be looking to play off 2 or 3 tiles. So a play of hip would provide a hook for his S, which he's signalled he may well have by the car play. But I'll have a better idea of what's in the remaining pool after my opponent has played. Quite a close end to the game, with the potential for my opponent bingoing. Column A available for quite a high score for a word ending BA getting tripled. Can't see such a play with my rack. I can't outrun my opponent. I think if he bingos, he wins. So opponent playing off just 2 tiles, each of his last 2 moves. Probably trying to avoid the cue. Wow, good score. He's played down here. Great, that means he hasn't opened a new bingo lane. So, although I'm only 17 points in front, I think if I just play MI down here, I can't see any bingo lanes on this board apart from playing through IN, through MA, so 9-letter plays, or a play ending IK. Unlikely. But a lead of 17 points and only 10 points, my opponent may still catch me. I've got no scoring tiles. And what if my opponent doesn't have the cue? I draw it and he blocks chin. Good point. Let me think. 3 minutes on my clock. Wow, I thought for a moment I had Mionite, but one of my I's would need to be an E. So, what about playing something in row O, which enables a cue to be played, but for not very much? 3 minutes on my clock. Is there really nowhere else for the cue? And I'm looking for spots for QI. Can't see anywhere. Wow, tricky situation. 3 minutes to go. So what about playing Imino? Keeping the I. Does that help though? Because again, if opponent blocks this spot above the I, I've got nowhere for QI. Two minutes on my clock. It's a slightly perverse situation in which I'd quite like to create a spot for the Q in case I draw it. I'm just wondering if, supposing the 2 tiles in the bag are the 2 worst ones, the Q and the Y, my opponent has misheld. Can't see a bingo with that rack. I'm going with MI. If I draw the Q, my opponent, I don't think he'll score very much blocking it. Wow, big call. I'm going with this. I just running out of time. I dodged the cue. My opponent's got it. I think the best he can do is chin. And I've got 1.5 minutes to get probably to go out in 2, I think, because once opponent's played chin or chins, he's got quite a nice rack. And he's got an H for going after these C's, so he's got scoring potential. And I've got 1.5 minutes to find scoring potential from this rack. And now he's provided the spot for him to play OMS, so it prioritises going out in 2. So I can play oily, keeping tie. Is there somewhere for me to go out with tie? I've got tier in column 7. Do I have a second out? I don't, but I think my opponent's unlikely to block tier. I lead by 15 points, less than 1 minute on the clock, and 17 points. That's quite a lot. I'm going with this. Do I have a second out? Not seeing anything at the moment, so it's just tier. Wow, such a tight board to not even see an out with 3 tiles, or to be really limited in what you can see. What about through the C? Not seeing anything. Opponent's got 6 minutes on his clock, so he does have a little bit more time. He blocks tier. He doesn't block tier. Fantastic. But he leads by 3 points. That's not going to be enough. I need to play quickly because I've only got, well, I need to play within 40 seconds. I can do that. Tier for 5. And that was close. So, final score. 400 to my opponent, 414 to me. A winning margin of 14 points. So, super, super close. Huge, huge win, of course. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go first. Let's have a look at his plays. He plays Canna. I have Vuj. I could have played Uvea. Opponent's rack plays Vug. And now I have Upnears. That is the only bingo. Opponent's rack. Wow, no bingo there. I was expecting one to pop up. Plays Canolas as a double-double. Taj for 55. Wow, interesting. Keeping Rose. Instead I played Joe, keeping a better rack lead, but setting up a bingo lane, which was ideal for my opponent, providing the only spot for him to play. And now I trail by 11. Great, I didn't miss a bingo here. I played Organ for 21, that's fine. Opponent has Terroir, nowhere for it, and Rortia. Plays Goria. That's fantastic because I have Dosseret, but I also had Stenos, a less overlapping bingo. And quite difficult to see Stenos without the D not being good. So Stenos is one of those problematic words which is quite high probability, but also quite easy to miss, as I did. I play Dosseret. Opponent plays Lighter. And I have Waltz for 54, which I like. Nothing better. Opponent struggling for vowels. Plays Bent. Ah, so he played Bent from this rack. Yeah, really just sorting out a problematic rack. And this was a rack I then struggled with. A2, Ofe. I don't like that, setting up another triple-triple. I certainly don't want to be introducing a huge amount of volatility when I'm defending a 100-point lead. Fuat, that was probably a play I may have made. However, Tufa has the advantage in that it kills the bottom right triple. If I'd played Fuat, the bottom right triple would still be available. Wow, great spot by my opponent, Thurled, and he's now just trailing. He's now trailing by just 40 points. Yowie b4. Okay, to the right of waltz. And maybe I shouldn't have worried too much about column 15 because the way my opponents played it didn't provide a huge opportunity. And Yowie's a big score, 39 points, so I think that would have been the play. Instead, I play Y for 29. Look at this, opponent has the cue from this point on. Plays Pax. My rack. I play OE, and I like that. F1, cats. Okay, that was available for my opponent. He doesn't play it. He plays car. And maybe he's just looking to set up a hotter lane. I don't know. B11, Bimer. Yeah, that would have been the right way to kill row A. Play down column 11. That would have been the play for sure, Bimer. So I made life hard for myself by playing bar. L2, Feeks. Quite nice. Opponent doesn't play it, plays FE. Now I'm worried about bingos in row N and O, although I couldn't see any. I thought it was the right thing to do strategically to take those lanes out, because it may be that my opponent has a bingo that I haven't seen. So I still like my opponent. I don't think he has any winning options here. Gets rid of the cue. And now I'm looking to go out in 2 and looking at these rack leaves. I don't think these moves are chosen on the basis of being able to go out in 2. Only Oily stands out, and that was my play. Great no out for my opponent. That would have, I think, won for him. So he plays She, the maximum score, 35. And now I played Tier, but I could have played Sight, K5. Oh, of course, down from the C. I was thinking about Etic not playing, but Sight was available, and that would have saved me a little bit of grief at the end, knowing I had 2 outs. Instead, I was with bated breath, waiting for my opponent to block Tier. So, absolutely fantastic game. Many thanks to my opponent for such a good battle, one in which I managed to win by a small margin and plenty of interesting racks and positions to consider. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.